everyone. Hope you're doing great. I'm Aurori, and this time we're interviewing SeeEl, head coach of Vivo KD Stars. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
How did you approach the roster building process for this split?
I mean, we had to take some risks because we got a great market opportunity for Giga and Pro Delta. So um, I think something that I wanted was people that had really good mechanics, not necessarily a lot of knowledge. And I also needed a veteran that could mold and bridge the gap between mechanical play and smart play on the map. So the first thing we did was go after Trimby, who in my opinion is still a top three support in LEC. Um, and that was a very momentous task, a difficult task, actually. And I was lucky enough to bring him over here, and that gave me the options to look for a top laner that was more mechanical than having to find someone with a little bit more experience. As for mid and AD carry, we just promoted them from academy. I think that they have tremendous potential. So I guess the entire roster building idea was to get as many guys that were mechanically talented as possible, promote our academy lineup while also maintaining, a core piece from last year so that we could integrate our systems better.
What are your thoughts on you brought him from academy and now he's playing tier 1? So, how is he doing? What do you think?
I mean, Ronald is someone I knew since he was 16 years old. I was in his very first professional team. I was his very first coach, and he didn't take my advice to leave Oceania and pursue a career in Europe or North America, and then the region collapsed. So he was a terrific market opportunity that people just didn't see, and I was able to get him for a price that just is absurd. I think that he's an incredible talent. He's got X factor. He plays better on stage normally. I mean, he's a tremendous player. And I obviously appreciate his personality as well. I think he brings a lot to the team in terms of lightening the mood. So um, we just had a task ahead of us, which was how do we get these guys to absorb our systems and game knowledge so that we can play smarter on the map.
How did you make your way to Vivo KD?
Uh, I mean, in 2023, I finished Team Heretics, the contract with Team Heretics. They decided to not move forward with me. I had a plethora of options available that intrigued me. There were a lot of good projects, but there were none where I had the complete freedom that I wanted to in terms of um, length of contract, in terms of like overall vision length, right? So that's what I mean by length of contract, and control of the methodology and the roster. Vivacade was the only team globally that really offered me full control at the level that I wanted to bring in some of the methodologies from traditional sports that I believe were necessary in order to make an advanced esports as a whole. And so, yeah, I got this tremendous opportunity from Vivacade. It just means that I could do a lot more here compared to say an LTA North team or a European team, and it's proven to be worth it so far. So that's why I ended up coming here.
What would you say are the main difference between LEC and LTA South?
I think the players here are really like talented in terms of their ability to like mechanically play well. I think just knowledge is a really big one. Discipline, how they train. I think those are the main ones. Like I think the players here are tremendously talented. It's just that there's no real infrastructure and there's a big gap in game knowledge, in my opinion. And if there's a gap in the game knowledge, then the entire region suffers. If you have two or three good teams in Europe right now, it's Carmine Corp and G2. The rest of the teams have to compete against them and they learn and they grow. I think that's just one big one. And then obviously like discipline and how they train, culture. The final thing I would say is I think that like Europe just has more resources. So if they're competing against other teams and other regions for players that are top talent leaderboard, they can pay for that, right? They can pay €500,000, they can play €1 million, whereas €500,000 is probably more than the year's budget for a lot of teams here. So yeah, those things all lead to a region that self-isolates itself. Like it can't scrim against North America, it can't bring in the top talent. So you just have this like really um, painful chain like cycle where you know they find it very difficult to improve. So I think that's the main challenges for Brazil, and that's the main differences.
What were the main issues the team faced last split?
Game knowledge was a really big problem, but we knew that would be a problem coming in. People played a little bit under form. And also, I think the coaching structure was a bit of a problem. I think that I was the worst coach in LTA in the first split. I spoke about this with Bruce and IDL. I don't know why that interview didn't go out, but I think like we didn't have a clear team identity. We didn't have a clear draft plan. We didn't have good systems. I think that coaching was a really big problem. Overall game knowledge was a really big problem, and we just did everything we could to address these issues.
What qualities were you looking for when signing new players?
Just uh, desperation is my number one always. I want to look for players that want to succeed no matter what, that don't have any other option, that is willing to sacrifice and give up everything for the cause, uh, that just want an opportunity. Two is like talent, mechanical talent, ability to do multiple things at once. So multitasking, clicking, like just overall camera movement, POV. Uh, and then that's it. Like, even if you are a really, say, arrogant guy or someone with a lot of pride, stubborn, if you are desperate enough to make something work, I can use those pieces. And I guess that's what I was looking for.
What specific changes have been made coming into this split?
I think I took more of a role in coaching League of Legends, building our systems. I do the draft single-handedly now. I get some feedback from the coaches, but I'm doing the draft alone. Um, I think I've been more involved with a lot of the players too. Um, so those would be the biggest ones on my end. But as for the players, I just think that the 2 months was enough time for us to really buckle down and study the game. I think that we just lacked a lot of knowledge across the board, aside from pretty much Chimby, who I think is the best support by far in LTA North and South. So, um, yeah, I just think that in general, we just spent that time bridging knowledge, and that was like the big part in terms of our performance.
How do you manage your dual role as both head coach and general manager?
I work a lot. I just work more than other people, and I make sure that everything's done. I ensure that we have a good process across two teams. I spend a lot of time with both teams. I have a personal relationship with all 10 players and all of my staff. I ensure that we have a good system so people are in and out of both teams in the right way. I provide stability, and I make sure that we are given resources from the organization. I make sure that I have a direct line with the management. They give us a lot of support. And then I just spend a lot of time. So if people are spending 60 hours, I work 100, and that's it. I mean, if you want to do more roles, you need to spend more time, even if you work efficiently. Other than that, I have a personal assistant, I guess. So he works for my startup company, Savicor, the company aiming to like bring education to Brazil and other regions at an affordable price. I think we do it for free right now. I think that's like the goal, the final goal. But right now, it's still paid for. And with that company, I hired a personal assistant, so he helps me with a lot of my day to day. He books my calendar. Like I don't even waste time getting like a coffee or like a monster. I'm working most of the time.
Actually, what does your day to day looks like?
I'm normally up by 7:38, maybe earlier. Some days I'm up earlier. Have my morning meetings. Go to gym like 3, 4 times a week if I can. Um, Last 2 weeks I haven't been able to just because of how hectic the main team schedule was and how late I've been working. But normally that's my schedule, and then I go over some of the meetings I have for my company. Then I go over the training plan for the day. So by now it's about 10 o'clock. I normally have a summary of the scrims of the day before from the night before. And then I handle meetings and uh, just calls or anything I need to do until about 11:30. I have lunch at 12. Then I have a team meeting at 12:30. If I don't have a team meeting, I have about half hour to 40 minutes of my time. But normally I use this time to go over the draft for the day. 1 p.m. to 2, I am either speaking to my players or organizing something regarding the day. Oftentimes it's about draft or catching up with VODs. Then from 2 p.m. to about 8:39, we're scrimming. Then after scrims, we eat dinner and then we review the game. I go over with individual players or I have meetings with staff until about, I'd say 11:30, 12. Oftentimes, if I take a player out to dinner to talk to them, then I'm normally doing it till about 1 because like 12 or 1 because we finish dinner a bit later talking. And then from like 12 to 1:32, I go over the day scrims. I have notes. And then once a week, we do staff meeting. So in those days, I have a meeting around 11 o'clock. And then I have a bunch of other meetings too, like either with management, investors, with performance, a lot of the time with my players and staff, and then I go to bed.
How would you describe the current synergy between your players?
Good, good, good. I think we're starting to understand how we want to play. I think we're starting to adapt to the systems. I think that people like each other. We spent a lot of time to ensure that people like each other and are friends. Um, yeah. Oh, yeah, and I also play solo queue sometimes too. If I go home earlier, like 10:30, I'm playing solo queue until like 12 or 1.
What has been the biggest improvement since the off season?
Just individual game knowledge. Like structure's been better, but the biggest one is individual game knowledge. I think people are starting to understand how the game works now. Before it was just instincts, and it was really disgusting. So just starting to build on that. I think we covered a little over 40 topics now. Um, we have a good foundation. We have a good idea on how to draft. So now it's time to add another 70, and then we'll be in a solid position. Solid position. And all of this is obviously like all of my work is recorded on a database online, and it's available for both management, my staff, and my players to see.
What part of your coaching philosophy do you think defines the team?
Just people skills, like understanding that uh, it's me or the other guy in competition. So I don't actually spend that much time going over items. Like I hire a math guy to do that. I have a guy that looks at like data and math and fucking sorry, shouldn't swear, and like item efficiency all day. I focus a lot on the people aspect, making sure that we're 110% in training. That we understand what this job means. If we can't handle the pressure and the workload, then we should be in a different industry. They're just not going to make it. And I think that like I have a really strong philosophy and like personal mindset where I could be gone tomorrow. That's the nature of competition. Like I get paid a lot for Brazil. I get paid a lot, and so if I get paid a lot, I should work a lot and I should bring a lot to the table, right? But on the same note, I can also just disappear. Like I could be fired the next day. So every day is about giving 110% and making sure that we did everything in our power in that day so that you know we are progressing as a team and we are growing as individuals. And I tell all my players the same thing. If they want to make it in the industry, they could be gone tomorrow. If they don't put in everything and they don't bring out the best in themselves, they're not only letting themselves down, but they could just simply not have the opportunity to play. It's a reality. So I guess that's the biggest part of my coaching philosophy, just dealing with people, making sure that we work. And generally that's been successful in bringing out teams that may not have the biggest budget or may not be operating with, the top talent in the world. I think Rogue was the same. Like when I was in Rogue in 22 and we won, we didn't have a roster of star-studded talents. We had, two, three solid pieces, and then we had two people coming in from academy. So yeah, I guess that's the biggest thing.
Being that said, how do you balance short term results with long term player development?
I think everything is about the long term. Everything is about um, taking it step by step and growing, because you have the year. The only time we'll adapt for short term is if it's like an emergency. For example, in first split, we dedicated all of our staff towards and all of our players towards like making some short term concessions and band-aids. But of course, like this is a very, very small part of our philosophy and process here at Cade. I would say like 1%. Everything else is about long-term growth and ensuring that we have players that are complete across the board and that understand how the game functions.
How do you keep the team motivated and yourself during thought patches in the split?
I mean, if they're not motivated, they should not be in the industry. And if they're not motivated, they get fisted. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the easiest way to put it. I'm sorry, but that's the easiest way to put it.
What's your take on the current meta and how does it affect your team's playstyle?
My current take on the meta. I mean, I think there's a lot of flexibility
Like
in the meta right
maybe
now.
Gwen in the Fury jungle?
Yeah, I mean, but there's a lot of flexibility. Like, you don't have to just like play Nafuri. You can play into Nafuri as well. Like, there's a lot of matchups you can just handshake. It just comes down to your team color and like your opposition. So for us, like, we made some changes to our way that we drafted because we knew that teams were not playing early games to the level that they should. So that meant that scaling comps had more power. But like for example, today versus Isurus, they played a lot better than we expected. So the game was like not easy. Although we ended up still scaling and playing with a lead early game, we should have been behind. And so I guess like the meta, there are power picks, of course, that exist, but the meta is quite flexible right now. It's just about what your players are good at and how to make it work. But also like what is the opposition playing like, how are they playing, and adapting to that as well. And just having the highest percentage chance to win the game in front of you. As playoffs goes, you have to take a more balanced approach. So you're probably going to look at more balanced team compositions with early game and late game options. Um, so yeah, I guess that's the easiest way to put it. Like the meta overall is just what everyone sees. Jace, Gwen, Nafiri, Sinzao, Maokai, Rumble, Sejuani, Yone. But how you decide to pick and what you decide to do generally ends up in, like 50-50 drafts unless you make a mistake. And I think a lot of teams were making mistakes. Like Loud on Saturday, they locked in Renekton on 3, which makes absolutely no sense in any way, shape, or form in any meta. So we're just doing like the bare minimum, really.
What do you think is like your strength? Like drafts, bot reviews? What would you
Oh,
say is your core
I'm
strength?
I'm so bad at drafting. I have a draft coach, and I do the drafts, but I always get feedback every game, every day. I get reports from all my staff. Oh yeah, that's the other thing I do. Like every night, all my staff send me reports. So if they're in academy or if they're in my room, they send me reports on what they thought of the day, what they thought of each game, what they thought about the drafts, what they think need to be worked on moving forward. I take that all into consideration. I take my idea and then I come prepared the next day. So I would say my strength is just I think I'm a really honestly I just work a lot. Like I'm able to push myself and get just more done. That's one. I think I just have a really, really strong mental when it comes to like taking feedback. Like if my player just says you're so fucking troll, then I'll be like, sure, you're right. How can I be better? I think that's my main strength. I don't waste time on my ego pride. Um, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of why I'm there. If I disagree, obviously I will disagree. But in general, I think I'm a pretty open person, and I try to implement that to all aspects of my process, so that people are also wanting to be like that, to be open, to move forward. Um, yeah.
Has your mental
I
toughness always been there, or do you develop it?
I think that just yeah, I think I developed it, of course, like just learning how to deal with life, just having some grit. Just came from working a lot of different types of jobs before I joined esports. I was I left home when I was 17 years old. Um, went out there and got every job I could get. Worked in kitchens, you know, worked as a removalist, worked cleaning toilets, didn't matter. I did that while going to university. You know, I did double, triple shifts. So when I went into esports, it was easy to begin with. Just the understanding that, look, like I'm going to be around longer than my parents, and that means that I got to look after myself. I think I realized that quite early on, and that I had to solve problems on my own. So that's it. But I mean, that's the case for every guy, right? I think that all these players, they lack a little bit of mental maturity and experience with life, and so that's what I try to bring to the table, and it tends to help a lot. I think I'm just a very straightforward person when it comes to that, and yeah, I'd say that's how I developed my grit.
What do you think about the Fearless Draft?
I mean, I like it. I like it. I think it's cool. I think that it's good for league. I think it's good for the viewers. I think that it brings out a lot of creativity and more picks. So I like it in general. I'm excited that it's coming back.
And what about BO1s? Did you like more BO3s, BO5, or are you okay with this BO1?
I mean, ideally, if it was up to me, I would do like BO3s every week until playoffs, like Korea. But it's not possible based on our schedule. Um, they simply can't operate for that long. So that's just life. But personally, I think that the more BO3s and BO5s we play, the stronger we're going to be as a region.
How do you view the level of competition in the LTA South this split and last split?
I think last split, Isurus was a team strong enough to play in LTA North, for sure, for sure. I think Pain was okay, but in general, I think that we as a region need to improve a lot. I think that Cade was playing a really bad game across the board. I think if we want to, if like, there's going to be no shortcuts, right? Like, the fans have to demand more. Um, we need to be okay with longer term projects. We need to develop our own talent internally. We need to, as a collective, want to improve at League of Legends. I think Korea being good at League of Legends is more cultural than anything. Like, not just the way they were raised. I think that is a big part of it, but also they just have a culture of wanting to be better. So they take even ranked solo queue more seriously. And if everyone took that mindset into everything that we as a region did, then the overall amount of talent that's going to be produced in that region is going to be higher. The overall amount of people that can look at games at a higher level is going to be higher. The overall skill level of the region is going to be higher. So teams need to do better. Like organizations as teams, sorry. The people need to be more demanding. The players need to try harder. Um, yeah, I mean, in this industry, that like I think work life balance is important, but you're not really going to get much of it, and we have to accept that. That's life. And in exchange, we get a little bit of time between splits to rest. We are lucky enough to play games for a living.
Are there any specific teams or players in the region that have impressed you? What about the
Yeah.
arrival of Isurus Estral and Leviathan? What do you think about
Oh,
them?
first of all, I think Miru is so good. This guy is really good. Miru is really, really good. I like his game. I think Summit's an amazing player. Um, but he's obviously new, right, to Isurus. I am always impressed by Titan, by Brancy, these guys. I mean, I think Titan is a level above still. I think there's a lot of talent as well, upcoming talent. There's Jean Margot, Boal, um, you know, Brods. There is, Gigo. A lot of good players here that impress me. Jose Diodo. I think Cody is really good. He's solid for sure. I think CEO as well. I mean, there's a lot of guys that really impress me across the board that I think are really good. Um, But we like we're competing against Koreans that play 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? So just good is not good enough. Like we have to do a lot more, a lot more.
What are your main goals for this split, both competitively and internally?
I mean, every week, every split, whatever the long term goal is going to be to try win. But as I said, in the 5 year plan, this is the year that we want to go for at least one title in the 3 splits. So that's going to be our goal in the next 2 splits, realistically. Last year, of course, we tried to win. I said that we're going to try fucking win this shit. I mean, we should. We're competing. We were short. We made finals. But the long term goal and the goal that I strive for is always going to be different. The long term goal that I set are parameters and KPIs based on the KPIs and OKRs, the objectives and key results and key performance indicators that I go for from a business sense, from a literal sense based off budget and based off planning, is always going to be lower than my personal goal. Because personally, I'm always striving to be the best. I think all of my players, every player in the region is trying to win. And that's natural. And so my personal goals would be to win, always. As for the org, it's to at least get one win this year and trying to make it happen.
What would you say is the identity of this Vivo KD Stars roster?
The identity.
Yes.
We just work. We're workhorses. We just work a lot. We study a lot. We work smart. We work hard. We make a lot of personal sacrifices to our partners or by not having a partner. Like me personally, as I said, like I work a lot, so it's impossible for me to have a partner. I tried. It's not possible. These are all things that we sacrifice. Like I'm almost 30 years old, and like I'm not going to date probably anytime soon. I don't think it's possible. I think that the identity of Viva Kate Stars is just sacrifice, diligence, hard work, hunger, a strong desire to succeed, and just, I guess, the underdog, right? No one believes that we can do it, but we will do it.
Who would you say is the most proactive teammate in your roster? Like the one making the shot calling?
Trump shouldn't be. Brilliant guy, brilliant guy. Honest, brilliant, so smart, and a good person. There's no one in Cade Stars that stayed that I think is not a good person. Character is one of the first things I look at when I hire players.
Lastly, do you have any words for your fans?
Thank you so much for your support always. To be honest, I don't pay much attention to nice comments because I'm naturally, I would say, like a prideful person. I think I'm naturally like an arrogant person. A lot of people have their natural characteristics, right? They can be shy. They can be, greedy. I mean, I tend to be someone that can be prideful and arrogant. So I try to stay away from praises. But of course, like I really appreciate all the support always. And you know, like I know that you guys, whatever I do, are there supporting me. Whatever shit thing I do, whatever good thing I do, you're always there. You're always there for my boys and my players and the org, and it's very much appreciated. So thank you very much.